I think it's an expedient move that will satisfy some of President Trump's supporters who perhaps don't know very much about the actual patterns of travel to the United States. Travelers from those 7 countries and immigrants from those countries amount to a very small proportion of the total who come here, and they don't match the nationalities of the small number of foreigners who have been implicated in terrorist activities in the United States.
Is this the first time this order has been given?
There are just 2 other instances that I know of. One was in 1980 at the time of the Iran hostage crisis, where for a short time President Carter banned the entry of Iranian nationals, although even at that time refugees who had been accepted from Iran were still allowed to come into the United States. The other time was just after the terrorist attacks on 9/11, when people from countries with an al-Qaeda presence were forbidden from entering the United States on a temporary basis.
And why these 7 countries and not, for instance, Saudi Arabia, where many of the 9/11 hijackers were from?
Well, the list is really a matter of expedience rather than logic in terms of where previous terrorists have come from. The 7 countries named are those that have been on previous lists in U.S. legislation, either as state sponsors of terrorism, that is Syria, Iran, and Sudan, and the others have been previously put on a list as countries of special concern because of an al-Qaeda presence.
And the fact that Saudi Arabia is not on the list has to do with oil interests, probably?
Oil interests, diplomatic interests, quite a complex array of factors. We think of the Saudis as an ally, and so would not like to put this kind of prohibition. And of course, many Saudis travel regularly to the United States. So it would definitely cause diplomatic friction if Saudi Arabia were on that list.
What's your opinion on the complete stop of the admission of refugees for 120 days?
I think it's a matter of expedience, because no refugee who has been resettled through our refugee resettlement program has ever committed a terrorist act in the United States, not ever. So there's no logical reason to think that barring refugee resettlement for any period of time will make the United States safer. This 120-day ban will wreak havoc with the lives of refugees as well as with the operations of the agencies that assist them. And so it's a very significant action, but one that, in my opinion, has very little connection to its stated purpose.
Is it legally possible? Isn't it a violation of international treaties?
There's some question of whether I think a good question, of whether the banning of immigrants from the 7 countries named is consistent with the Immigration and Nationality Act, which President Johnson signed the act in 1965, barring discrimination on the basis of national origin. So I'm sure that portion of the executive order will be challenged as well.
Yeah, challenged in court.
Yes. And there is already a court challenge in process about the people who arrived in the United States and then were put in detention, people who had already been authorized to travel as refugees or on special immigrant visas for those who had assisted U.S. forces in Iraq or Afghanistan.
Ms. Newland, thank you very much.